shopgear.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network. Coming to you live from Rochester, New York, this is the FTW Podcast with John Cimino and Brandon Gorell. And now, here's John.
And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of the FTW Podcast. We are on the air on Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever fine podcasts can be heard. Yes, this is the same John Cimino that you're used to hearing, except I'm a little under the weather right now, so we're gonna have a little fun at my expense, I'm sure, at this podcast. But at the JC Money is where you'll find me, and at Brandon S. Gorell is where you'll find my co-host, Mr. Brandon Gorell. Say hello.
Hey, full-throated Gorell.
Full-throated Gorell, that's right. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we are presented today with no commercial interruptions. Thanks to your recent Amazon shopping using our links at gearnetwork.com and shopgear.com. And just whatever the shtick I had last episode, just place it here. Whatever, I don't care. Just shop there, please. Thank you. On today's show, I'm under the weather, so I'm going to be probably very blunt and very salty, and I apologize in advance. But we are going to talk Wild Card Weekend. We're going to talk the coaching firings, and if we have enough time, we'll probably talk about, I don't know, whatever else comes to mind. But yeah, Brandon, how's it going this week, man?
It's going well, man. How are you doing?
I am well. How was your New Year's celebration?
It was fun. I didn't drink. I made mocktails for myself all night because I had the kids, and I didn't feel like crashing. And I didn't feel like taking my kids into like a $50 Uber because I'm sure it was really expensive on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, so I heard. I didn't get to drive that night.
Oh, next year, man. You got all next year,
yeah,
and maybe my drunk ass up. But yeah, it was good. I mean, we
like, this is America. This is America, damn it. Sorry, go ahead.
Come on, my pants are on my ankles.
Merle Haggard VHS. Whatever, fuck that guy. I don't care.
Sketty. Anyway,
I told you I would be salty.
We just hung out, my cousins and some friends, and the kids played with other kids. It's scary how seamlessly and how easily Grace fits in with teenagers. They basically treat her like she's one of their own, and that's just terrifying and terrible for me because I just
they know she could probably kick their ass at this point.
It's not even a kicking the ass thing. Like, she's cool. Like, she knows all the stuff that these kids are talking about. She understands all that shit. She's like too advanced, and it drives me nuts, dude. It's just it was good. I mean, Sean, as usual, like, there's always a girl at every party that likes Sean, and this little girl started crying. They want Sean to leave. We had to leave. He's like, bye, see you next year.
Boy's a pimp.
Yeah, he is. He's ridiculous.
He's got that pimp juice going.
He does,
almost wish if we were face to face at the studio right now, where I could incorporate sound bites, I think I would at this point insert "Pimp Juice" by Nelly anytime we talk about Sean. Because I feel like that could be his theme.
He really could be. I mean, he's got to spread that game to Dad. I don't know, man.
Could throw a little to Uncle JC too, because whatever. Anyways, New Year's fun. I don't remember what I did.
Yeah,
I was home. I was sick.
Girls.
I had the girls. Gianna did not make it all the way to midnight. It was literally, she wanted, it's her one big day a year that she can't, doesn't have a bedtime, obviously.
Yeah.
And I thought that, for sure she would have made it this year. But at about 11:30, she she balls up on the couch, and she looks at me and she says, "Dad, wake me up when, if I fall asleep, wake me up when the ball drops." And I get finished saying, "Well, honey, the ball's going to drop in a half an hour. Just hang on a little bit, Yeah.
And
as soon as I finished saying, "Just hang on a little bit," She was out. And I'm like, whoa, that was really weird, but kind of hilarious. And then, you know, she's also here listening to me tell that story right now. So she's an audience right now. Do you want to talk about it on the podcast?
No.
You don't want to talk about it on the podcast?
What?
Why not?
About what?
Talk about you falling asleep.
I did fall asleep when the ball dropped.
Yeah. Well, you got to say it over the microphone, honey. You sound distant. You sound like Cousin Lunchbox.
I did fall asleep, but when the ball dropped, Dad woke me up.
That's right. I woke you up. You know what we're talking about?
New Year's.
Oh wait, hold on. Here, listen to this. Brandon, go ahead and ask again.
Didn't you ask to be woken up?
What?
Didn't you ask to be woken up?
Yes.
All right, then what are you complaining about?
I don't think she's complaining. I think she was celebrating.
She was like, "You woke me up."
No, she was celebrating. She was fist pumping that. You'd know that if you were in the studio, Brandon.
Yeah, well, I have my own kids. They're in bed.
That's true.
They're in bed being good. Since you're gracing us with your presence, who do you think is going to win the Colts versus Texans tomorrow?
I don't know.
It's a football game.
I don't know.
That's a good answer.
Colts or the Texans?
I don't know.
I
don't know.
What? Okay, which of these names?
Great sports analyst.
I'm going to give you these two. I'm going to give you two names. One plays for the Colts. One plays for the Texans. Okay, and based on the names that I give you, I want you to tell me which name is the best name. Okay, ready? T.Y. Hilton plays for the Colts, and DeAndre Hopkins plays for the Texans. So T.Y. Hilton or DeAndre Hopkins?
Yes, the Texans.
Okay, you're picking the Texans to win.
Oh.
All right, we'll see if
that logic.
Well, that's going to come later on in the podcast, honey. At the rate we're going, you'll be asleep before that ball drops. All right, do me a favor. Tell the Gear Network listeners good night now.
No.
That's my sign off.
No.
All right, well, tell them goodbye.
Bye.
All right, get
Bye.
I'm going to bed.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
I'm not actually going to bed.
Okay, thank you, but you're getting out of the studio now. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was my 8-year-old. That's a G of Gear Radio Network, by the way. Anyways. All right. So you can tell how fun that was. Okay. Circling back to the original piece here. Football. Let's talk football.
Yeah.
Brandon, Black Monday came and went.
Yep.
And we had several coaching. We had two official head coaching vacancies going into Black Monday. That would, of course, be the Green Bay Packers and the Cleveland Browns. But on Black Monday, excuse me, the Arizona Cardinals fired Steve Wilks.
Yep.
The Bengals finally.
Bullshit, by the way. The Steve Wilks.
Steve
firing.
Wilks? Yeah. I'm not. I'm a little. Yeah.
Man, you're in a rebuild. I don't know where they thought they were going to reload. I mean, I've seen that roster, and no one thought that team was going to be competitive.
No, not at all. They were 3-13.
Fire the guy after that. I mean, come on.
Right.
I will always be grateful for him beating Green Bay, though, because that got rid of McCarthy.
Yeah, there we go. That was the three. That was the one of the 3-13. The worst record in Arizona / Phoenix / St. Louis Cardinals history / Chicago Cardinals. I mean that's a long-standing franchise, and to think that in franchise history this year was their worst record. I mean that kind of says something. But still, I think Wilkes did not deserve to be fired. For that. Someone who deserved to be fired 10 years ago, Marvin Lewis, is finally gone from Cincinnati. They were 6-10 this season with Marvin Lewis. He was 133, 122, and 3 overall. Brandon, do you expect the P tape to come out? He's got to have something.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I'm guessing the
I don't know
the Brown family
if he gets down like 45 does.
Maybe not. Tampa fires Dirk Cotter. Cotter was 5-11 this season, 19-29 overall. The Miami Dolphins fire, much to the chagrin of Tom Ernestly of DolphinsTalk.com, Adam Gase, whose main claim to fame was to get Jay Cutler to throw a few less interceptions in a season. Was really about it. Denver Broncos, they fired Vance Joseph after his second season, 11-21 overall. They were 6-10 this season. The first back-to-back losing seasons for the Denver Broncos since I want to say 1971, 72, somewhere around there. So it's been a hot minute for the Broncos to lose to have two consecutive losing seasons. And there may very well be trouble in paradise. I don't know if you read about this, but Von Miller is pretty much. John Elway said that he's open to trading Von Miller, and Von Miller has responded saying, "John Elway's really what's the problem with what's
John
going
Elway
on?"
is not a good executive. He caught lightning in a bottle, having Peyton Manning and having that really ridiculous defense that they had.
Right.
But his choice in successing quarterbacks has been like Cleveland Brown-esque.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Horrible.
What did we have? We had Osweiler for a bit there.
Osweiler.
It was Osweiler. They drafted Chad Kelly, which was
Kelly was
nobody
garbage.
was drafting him.
Yeah,
he was garbage. Paxton Lynch. Is he even still on the team, Paxton Lynch?
No, he isn't. He is not.
Yeah, so he's gone. So they had Case Keenum this year.
And Case Keenum wasn't really bad. They just weren't very good.
Yeah, no, Keenum wasn't.
For again, what he had, he wasn't bad.
With the right system in place, Keenum can be effective. He didn't have a whole lot this year. He didn't have an Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs to throw to.
Right.
He didn't. They traded away his number one midway through the season to the Texans. So it was, and I believe Sanders was injured for a good chunk, if not all of the season.
He was for a good chunk of the season. They had a lot of young guys. The emergence of Patrick Lindsey was a good story, but it just wasn't enough to.
Except for my championship game in fantasy football. I'm still a little salty about that.
That wasn't really his fault. I mean, he got hurt.
Whatever. And finally, as I have been calling ever since the poor clock management issue back in week 4 or 5, when I finally threw in the towel on this guy, Todd Bowles, fired from the New York Jets. He was 4-12 this season. He went 24-40 overall in 4 seasons with New York.
With that roster, that's not like that bad.
No, it's really not that bad. And again, this is where the as a Jets fan speaking, the Jets went Jets. Like, I don't know. I think the day that the Johnson family realizes that they're not football people, I think will be the best day in the entire tenure of the Johnson family as the owners of the New York Jets. I mean,
give them all jobs, man.
The Hess family. What's that?
Trump's got to give them all jobs. Just get them out of there.
Yeah. Well, when the Hess family owned the Jets, Leon Hess, they knew flat out they weren't football people. Yeah. And yes, the Jets were not, they weren't this bad consistently. Like you had high periods and you had low periods. You'd have a playoff season followed by maybe 2 seasons of not hitting the playoffs, followed by a season of hitting the playoffs, and then another season of not. And then it was just kind of like they were always somewhat in the playoff mix until the butt fumble. And literally from the butt fumble on, it's just been almost Cleveland Browns-esque factory of sadness in New York.
Just a little more wind.
They hire the wrong executives. John Idzik, for Christ's sakes. When we had him for 2 years, that was terrible. They didn't spend enough where they should have. They kept going bottom of the barrel to free cap space. It's what they do. And then they get cap space and then they splurge and spend and then they hire the wrong people.
Right.
And then they don't go anywhere. And then it becomes
bad money after that.
Bad money, and then they free it up, and then they're playing catch up again. So I don't, this time it feels a little different because they have something with Sam Darnold, and they know it, and the rest of the league, knows
Anderson
it.
Too. That kid's a stud.
Yes, he He's a stud as well.
Who's that return man you guys got? He's ridiculous.
I forgot his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, like they were kicking away from him last week.
Yeah, I mean they have some young pieces there. What they really need to do is they really need to beef up that offensive line a bit and get him another weapon on as a receiver. Get Darnold another weapon, let him develop. Get him a good solid run game. They don't really have, Bilal Powell went down. Not that he was super good anyways. He was all right, but he went down with that neck injury. No one's sure if he's going to ever play again.
Right.
With that. And then you had, what's his face? The young kid, Eli McGuire has potential there. He's drawn comparisons to LaDainian Tomlinson, but it's tough to, get an offensive line around him and let's check and see that theory. Because if you got a solid offensive line, regardless of whether or not Darnold's throwing it all over the place, if Eli McGuire has LaDainian Tomlinson traits, he's going to thrive with a good offensive line. So, but we'll see. But the one thing that I will give Christopher Walt Johnson credit for is that I think he's a little more hip to the social media aspect, to the fans, because he's definitely focusing on bringing in an offensive head coach. They interviewed McCarthy. They interviewed Adam Stupid Gates. They're interviewing some coaches on the. What?
It's gays.
Yes. I don't think I call it a hunch, but I get the vibe that they just went through the motions bringing him in. I don't think they're hiring him at all. But I believe Green Bay is actually interviewing him too. Gaze. So yeah, whatever. But I hope the Jets don't mess this one up. I really don't like the fact that the playoff drought that they're having is going to, is almost at 10 years. Like, that's pretty crazy. Like, I'm pretty sure Cleveland will end their drought next year at the rate they're going. They almost ended it this year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then,
they waited too long to fire Hugh. If they would have fired Hugh after like week 3, they probably would have made the playoffs this year.
If they would
maybe even won that division.
If they would have fired Hugh,
that division was very
it was wide open.
Yeah, it was very mediocre.
But if they would have fired Hugh after 0-16, they probably would have made the playoffs. Because I'm sure that whomever would have come in as the coach would have taken Baker Mayfield anyways. So, or they would have taken Sam Darnold and Baker would have fallen to probably the Jets and, it would have been flip-flop. But either way, the Browns are in good shape to end their drought quicker than I think the Jets are. I think the Jets, depending on who they hire, if they do end up hiring an offensive-minded coach, Jim Harbaugh's name keeps popping up there, but he ain't going on.
He ain't leaving college. He's getting paid a shit ton of money at Michigan.
Yes.
Now that Urban Meyer's gone.
Yep.
I think he's going to stay.
Good for Urban Meyer.
Sorry, I just got a weird yawn for no reason. Like mid-sentence. What the F?
Indeed. Brandon, the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on what they need at this point? Like in terms of a head coach, do you want a younger Sean McVay kind of guy who's going to kind of let Aaron Rodgers do his thing while he's coaching up everybody else? Do you want somebody that Aaron Rodgers is familiar with? Like, how does this?
I want somebody that's on the same page as Aaron Rodgers. I want somebody that takes input from Aaron Rodgers and they work together on creating an offense and they kind of call plays in unison. It's not like, so there was an article that came out today on a podcast that not our podcast, unfortunately, Mercedes Lewis was on, and he was talking about how the tension was mounting towards the end of McCarthy's time there. He's like, it was kind of crazy. He says, coach would send in a play and Aaron just kind of rolled his eyes. He's like, we're in a 4-minute offense, we got to move the damn ball. Like, I can't go with these little dump off screens. Like he just kind of rolled his eyes and called his own play. And then he threw a 40-yard bomb down the field for a completion. And then we ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive. He says, but that was the kind of thing that was happening. And he says, and I had never seen anything like that where the coach, sent in a play and he just basically said, go shit in your hat, buddy. I'm not calling that play. It's stupid. There was definitely a disconnect. McCarthy wanted to kind of dink and dunk, and Rodgers had said, I want to get bigger chunk plays this year. He says, we got to mix that up. We've been going too much with the short stuff. So they got to get somebody that's in line with what Aaron Rodgers sees, because Aaron Rodgers is very smart. Like, he's got a really good football mind, and you got to use that thing. So it's got to be a coach that can work with him, that is not trying to work over him. I think that's what they need most. Honestly, like, one thing they need to do too is they need to bring back Alex Van Pelt as the quarterback's coach. That was his guy. That was kind of like the beginning of the end for that team. This year when they went in the offseason, they let Jordy Nelson go, and it's like, okay, well, we can live with that. But there's another one where it's like, all right, well, we're going to let your quarterback coach go. Like, that didn't make any sense. And that would have been his quarterback coach since he'd been here. So they need somebody who's going to have Aaron's back and is going to work with Aaron on the offense. Someone that Aaron believes in their play calling and is in line with what Aaron thinks that, is best for the team. He's not always going to have the right answer.
That would be Joe Philbin?
No. Joe Philbin is...
I know that's his boy.
He's a nice guy. He likes Joe Philbin. I don't think he is the head coach type. I think he would be a speed bump. I need somebody that can push back with Rodgers, but not try to push over Rodgers. And I feel like it would be the other way around. I think Rodgers would just run right over him and Joe would go, oh, shucks. All right.
I
think that's how it would go. And
fair. Yeah, it's definitely at the weird point, because, Rodgers is at a point where, he knows that he's sir in the eyes of younger players now. Which typically means your window is closing. So it's not like Tom Brady, where he's had the benefit of Bill Belichick his entire career. He hasn't had to go a single coaching, head coaching change at all.
Bill Belichick doesn't even call the offense. Right. I think that's the other issue too. If you've got somebody who's a defensive coach and it's just between Aaron and the offensive coordinator, then fine. But if you've got an offensive coordinator, you've got a head coach, and then you got a quarterback all wanting to call the plays, it's going to create a logjam. Whereas Belichick is, he oversees what's going on, as a head coach does, but he trusts his coordinator and his quarterback. He works with the defense. He works with the defensive coordinator. If he's kind of one of those, if I see a defense that I'm not really sure about, maybe I step in and intervene, but I think he's more hands off too. So, I think whatever they do, they need to have a 1-to-1 connection, whether it's the head coach calling the plays and Aaron is on board with it, or if this guy is a defensive guy and he lets the offensive coordinator handle their business and it's just Aaron and the coordinator mapping out how the offense is going to go, then that's fine. But I think with the 3-headed thing where, you've got a coordinator calling plays, Mike doesn't like it, then he decides he's going to take over play calling, but then Aaron doesn't like his play calling, so Aaron's going to start doing his own thing.
Right.
I just don't think that's going to work.
There's got to be the balance, because, what you listed there in comparison to the New England situation is one extreme. It's one extreme, offensive-minded, OC, quarterback, head coach, all saying me. I'm calling the shots. I want to call the shots. So I know what's best for this team. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have what happened in New York in Todd Bowles, where he was not hands on with anything.
Right.
like nothing at all.
Hands on his dick.
Yeah, pretty much. Nice guy, great humanitarian, great person in the community. Like, all the stuff that they were talking about, there was a lot of things that he did for the community that started coming out that, he said flat out, I don't want this publicized because I don't want to take away from the team.
Not what people do.
And that, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as they were being fired, like, this was one of the more respectable fires, I think. Like, they fired Todd Bowles, but they were like praising him as a person on the way out. Whereas, the only person that was kind of like praising Rex Ryan on the way out was Woody Johnson. Because Woody Johnson loves him like a son, which is why I wouldn't be surprised to see him back in the organization in some way, shape, or form, perhaps after 45 resigns. But they got to have that balance. New England has that balance. Yeah, Belichick's a defensive-minded coach, but to your point, he kind of goes back to like the Lombardi days, where Lombardi was very much the head coach, and they ran stuff by him, but he trusted his players, his staff to do what they needed to do, and if he needed to intervene, he would, and he would mostly coach up the players, get them going, get them believing in themselves, and that's that. So Belichick does. And that's what I think more head coaches need to do, regardless of the, cheating and the Spygate and all that crap that, anybody that's under, anybody that doesn't have the ability to take the Homer hat off, clings to. The guy is a damn good football coach.
Right.
And he knows what he's doing. And if we had more coaches like that, I think, or at least I would love to have a coach like that for New York, especially for Darnold, with as much as they're tight, hyping him up. But anyways, we'll see throughout the off season, what happens. It'll be an interesting one.
I mean, there's going to be the retreads, guys who have been fired who are going to get jobs somewhere else, but there's going to be some new names that come in, and I'm interested to see what happens there.
I can't tell you. I'm telling you, my gut is telling me the Jets are going to hire McCarthy. It may not be. I don't know why. I don't know why I feel that way.
It's not a bad thing. Mike is a good coach. I think what happened is Mike was there too long, and there was not enough success to justify, and he's losing his voice doing that. Mike McCarthy came in, if you remember, and took over a scuttling Brett Favre, who was out of control, playing his worst, looked almost washed. And he revived Brett Favre's career because he was like, Brett, you got to stop doing this step. Brett, you got to stop. He was working with Brett. He was calling the plays. Brett was taking them. Brett was playing really well. Outside that boneheaded interception in the NFC title game, which ended up being his last pass in Green Bay before Rodgers took over. I mean, the guy's he is an excellent football coach, but he lost that team a few years ago when they just were not like they were just coming up short every year. And I think that, when these guys start hammering home messages, they've got the same message. We got to do this. We got to do this. And players start going, you know what? We've been trying to do this for the last 4 or 5 years and it hasn't gotten us anywhere. When you're winning, people will listen. If Bill Belichick did not have the success to go with his, gruff, like do your job stuff. If he didn't have that success, I think he would have trouble keeping, the players in line the way he does. But he can point to, hey, we got 5 Super Bowls up in the rafters. You're going to do it my way.
All under his tenure. You're absolutely right.
Right.
Every single one of them is. The Patriots were 0-2. In their 2 Super Bowl appearances before Belichick's first.
And they were not even close.
All of their success, like you'll be able to go back in and look at, in the year 2030, 2040, when he finally retires, you'll be able to go back and look and say, yeah, all of those successes, all of those banners, that was all Belichick. That's all there is to it. And Cleveland is going to be like, damn it, that could have been us. But thanks, Art Modell. But all right, let's go to Wild Card Weekend. Let's move on from there. Tomorrow, January the 5th, on ESPN and ABC, that random weird simulcast that they do on both networks every year. I'm not exactly sure why they do that, but they do. Number 6, Indianapolis at number 3, Houston. Some notes here that I borrowed from Ryan at BLTD. The Colts are the second team ever to start 1-5 and make the playoffs. In their 2 matchups this year, the Texans took the first matchup, which was a 37-34 overtime win in week 4. And then the most recent matchup was week 14. The Colts won that one 24-21. So I say to you, Mr. Brandon Garrell, Colts, Texans, who you got?
I think this is the toughest one to call this week.
I agree. I agree with you.
Because the Texans have played very consistent, solid football for like 80% of the season. They started off slow. I think a lot of that was Watson not trusting himself coming back from that injury. But Andrew Luck and the Colts actually, this is the first time I think that even during the Manning days that you can say the Colts have a defense. The Colts have never had a good defense. They've had a couple of good players, like when they had Mathis and Freeney. Those were good players, but the rest of the defense was pretty suspect. They didn't have a very good secondary. Linebacking core was but they got pressure on the quarterback from Freeney and Mathis. But they had scuttled, especially during Luck's years, on the defensive side of the ball. Well, now they have a defense. But then you got the Texans defense too. It's going to be a battle of wills. I think the only reason I would give the edge to the Texans is because T.Y. Hilton is not healthy. That guy's ankle is in bad shape. He's probably like one misstep away from becoming bloody sock number 2. I think they're going to have to start shooting him up with lidocaine into his ankle directly to get him out there to play, because he just did not look good, especially that last game against Tennessee. I mean, the guy can't cut. He can run forward, but as soon as he has to cut, I mean, it's just not good for him. So I think that they'll try to isolate that, but at the same time, I mean, Eric Ebron has been what the Lions thought he was going to be.
Let me correct you there and piss off Lions fans for a minute. Pro Bowler Eric Ebron.
Yes, Pro Bowler Eric Ebron, tied for the NFL lead in touchdown receptions. Eric Ebron.
Imagine that.
So, but the Texans defense too. I mean, I think the best defense against the Texans is going to be a quick release, and Luck has it. But there is times where Luck will hold the ball a little too long, and I think that's when they're going to get after him. And I think that the Texans are just going to edge out the Colts, and I think it's going to be a great game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a very tight game right down to the wire, and I think the Texans are just going to have enough on defense to get by. And
I'm going to agree with you as well. I'm looking at my BLTD, I guess, bracket, whatever the hell. Ryan likes to do that every year, and so he got me and Lewis in on it, and I as well picked the
Cowboys
Texans.
in the bowl, huh?
He's got Lewis has the Cowboys going to the NFC Championship game. Yep. He has the Cowboys beating the Saints in the divisional round. I said, I actually said this on the podcast. I said, what is in those cigars that you were smoking? I said, is it the same stuff that's in my pipe over there? Because Cowboys, if the Cowboys get past, I don't even see them getting past this wild card round. But let's say they do. You think the Dallas Cowboys are going to go into New Orleans? Because that's where they would end up.
They beat Seattle this week. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, but just hypothetically speaking.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking, let's say they do beat Seattle. Do you really think the Dallas Cowboys are going to beat the number 1 New Orleans Saints in the Dome at a playoff? I don't think so. I don't see it. I don't see how the Dallas Cowboys of all teams who squeaked by are going would beat it. But anyways, that's that. So clearly the both of us on Sunday's Dallas game, we both picked Seattle there. But I have the Texans as well. I think that the Colts are a wonderful, wonderful story. Andrew Luck, definitely comeback player of the year. That should be a no-brainer. Ebron, Pro Bowler, Eric Ebron. The Colts have had a very, very, very surprisingly good and a good season and a fun one to watch. Again, they started 1-5 and ended up making the playoffs. Andrew Luck, they protected him very well for 5 straight games.
Yeah,
they didn't allow a sack.
Right.
That's some damn good football. And Frank Reich, their head coach, as we all know, led the greatest NFL comeback in the history of the playoffs with the Buffalo Bills against the Houston Oilers. That said, I think the comeback was getting the Colts back to the playoffs at this point, and I don't think
Andrew Luck again.
Yes, but your big point, the T.Y. Hilton thing, and quite frankly, the Texans' offense is that good that they'll be able to keep or match whatever they do.
Right.
And I just think that the Texans, like you said, they're the healthier team. Yep. And that's what's going to coast them by. 37-34 was week 4, 24-21 week 14. That seems consistent. It's going to be close. It's going to be a close game.
Yeah.
I'd say it's going to be somewhere in between those two scores. But yes, I do have the Texans narrowly edging out the Indianapolis Colts. And then at 8:15 on Fox on Saturday. Oh, I thought it was Sunday's game, but apparently it's Saturday's game. Number 5 Seattle, number 4 Dallas at Jerryland. Seattle defeated Dallas 24-13 in September. And in case if Dallas Cowboy fan wants to or doesn't want to remember, we're going to remind them anyways. The fumbled Tony Romo snap back in the 2006 wild card game came.
Dak could start holding kicks, and it's not going to matter because it's not even going to be that close.
Yeah, you don't think so?
No, I think Seattle is going to bomb them. I don't know. Lopsided game of the weekend.
I don't know unless they completely zero in on Ezekiel Elliott and make Dak have to throw to his receivers, particularly Amari Cooper.
Yeah. But where has Amari Cooper been the last 3 weeks? He's been back to being Raiders Amari Cooper.
Oh, that's true.
Amari Cooper does.
That's true.
Burns the Jets, and everyone's like, "Oh, got to get that guy in fantasy." And then you get him, and then he does nothing he just disappears for weeks.
Yes.
Seattle is experienced. They've been here. Their run defense is pretty good. They don't turn the ball over at all. Dallas has relied heavily on getting turnovers. If they did not get the turnovers that they got against the Bucks, they would have lost that game. There is a lot of games this season that their defense has saved their asses and gotten big turnovers. They're not going to get those for Seattle. Seattle, again, I brought up the stat last time, but I'll bring it up again. They had 10 turnovers this entire season. That tied an NFL record with the 2007 Patriots and the 2011 49ers. Both teams were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. One. That is a good stat. I didn't even think about that.
Don't do it. Russell Wilson is having an MVP season. If it was Patrick Mahomes, he would be the clear-cut favorite right now.
You think so?
I would put him over Breeze.
Okay.
Russell Wilson, he's not only held that team together, but he's also been able to be effective on a team that has the idea that they want to run first. Like, this team runs first. They have a really good rushing attack. But Russell Wilson has not gotten impatient, and he's had his best season of the year. This season he threw for 3,400 yards, 35 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's his lowest. I believe that's his lowest career interceptions.
Matches his lowest.
Matches his lowest in 2014. But it is his high for touchdowns.
Yes,
35.
It is his high watermark. It actually, his previous high watermark was set in 2015 and tied again last year at 34. So 35-7. He had a quarterback rating of 110.9, which is the highest of his career. So yes, definitely had a season. His passing yardage took a hit, but that really, I guess, doesn't matter when he's a dual threat, when he can be a dual threat quarterback. But unlike in seasons past,
run more.
Right. Unlike in seasons past, they have relied on the run a little bit more, and Russell Wilson, to his credit, has adapted to not using his legs unless he absolutely has to. And that has been a very, very big change for him, and a very successful one. That said,
he also had 5 of those interceptions in the first 6 weeks. Sorry. So the last 10 weeks, he had 2.
Yeah. He was,
including one last week.
He was lights out, and Russ is a big gamer because you talk about his first 2 years. I mean, he had Brady, he had Manning and Brady in consecutive Super Bowls, and came to play, and was a poor Pete Carroll call away from beating Tom Brady the year after he beat Peyton Manning.
Right.
At a Super Bowl. He's good. He's real good. So that said, I don't know that I see them steamrolling the Cowboys. I see them beating the Cowboys, but I see it more like a 21-10 kind of thing, maybe 21-13, something like that. Again, the 24-13 score was in September, and that was a different Russell Wilson, so I don't know, but I'm too hard. I'm very hard on the Cowboys all year, anyways.
But you know what? Honestly, they've deserved it. I mean, look, they have played the only teams that they've beaten that are like any good in the last 7 weeks since they've gotten on this little run of theirs was the Eagles, when the Eagles weren't playing well. These weren't Nick Foles Eagles. These were Carson Wentz Eagles. And then they edged out the Saints, and they were gifted that game against the Saints. I'm not impressed with 36-35 wins over the Giants, 27-20 wins over the Bucks, 23-0 shutout losses to the Colts, 31-23 wins against Colt McCoy and the Redskins. I'm not, super pumped about them beating the Falcons by 3 points or losing by 2 touchdowns to the Titans. They don't impress me, and I think that they're going to come back down to earth. Seattle's probably the, outside of the Saints, the best team that they've faced in the last 7-8 weeks. And I think they're going to get smoked because they have a lot of pressure in Dallas too to win. There's a lot of pressure from that owner to get that playoff win, and the coaches. And I don't think their coaching staff's very good. I don't think Jason Garrett's very big time. I think they're gonna fall flat.
I agree with you.
They're gonna stuff up Ezekiel Elliott, and I think that once he goes, the whole thing falls apart.
All right, that's very fair. That's very fair.
And I don't like Seattle, to be honest.
No. All right. Well, that takes care of Saturday's games. And before we get on to Sunday's games, I do want to pay the bills, so to speak, since we haven't done a full commercial format in a while, but we still do the Amazon infomercials. I feel it is the appropriate time right now to take a small break for a little infomercial and remind everybody that when you use shopgear.com, or if you go to gearnetwork.com/Amazon and click on any of the banners on that page, you will go directly to your Amazon account. It's one extra step. And hey, if you happen to be in the market like I was on January 18th of last year, you can buy this sweet, awesome, honest to God, I am looking so forward, Brandon, to wrapping this podcast up and going and laying on my Zinus, whatever the hell it's called, memory foam 12-inch green tea mattress that you actually recommended to me last year, and I loved it. And you can get it on Amazon via shopgear.com for $349 delivered in 2 days or less using Amazon Prime. It's awesome. It is a very, very comfortable sleep, and it's delivered. You just set it up, you take it right out of the box, give it a day or two, the thing freaking blows up on its own with the air, and it's so nice. It's so comfortable. You could get the 6-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch, 8-inch foam styles. I got the 12 because I had to. King size, California King. I don't really know what the difference is between the two, but whatever. I got the king size. You can get that. You can get a whole bunch of other things. Shopgear.com. Again, when you make any purchase using our link and taking that extra step, Amazon does shoot us over a small commission on most of your purchases, which goes a very, very long way to helping us doing more and more and more things with the network, which, by the way, we're doing a lot more. For wrestling fans, I haven't abandoned you. We're going to be I'm going to be having more podcast specials, particularly with a promotion that's making its way here in February to Rochester. You know, for you wrestling fans, there's going to be a bunch of stuff on there, and shopgear.com has afforded me the ability to expand the airtime and other things like that. So it's very, very important to do your Amazon shopping and support us using shopgear.com or the PayPal link underneath that on gearnetwork.com.
Give me some money. Give them some money.
Give me some money. We would love it and love you. I guarantee it. Okay. Sunday, Brandon, the early game on the Columbia Broadcasting System. The number 5 Los Angeles Chargers at the number 4 Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens in Week 16 defeated the Chargers 22-10. Can Lamar Jackson keep the offense rolling against a Chargers team that, regardless of their Week 16 loss to the Ravens, is still considered a very tough team in this playoff race? Brandon, what do you see with the Chargers and the Ravens?
I see the Chargers avenging that loss, that real tough loss that basically cost them the division. I thought that was a game that they were going to handle, and they came out flat. I don't think they're going to come out flat this time. I think Phillip Rivers is going to do his job, and he is going to beat the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson will have a good game, but I think he'll start out shaky. Just being a rookie and, you know, having to go out there in the postseason at home, there's a little bit of pressure on that. I think that the Chargers have, and they're going to have Gordon too. They didn't have Gordon when they played last time. So I give the edge of the Chargers. I think it'll be a tighter game. But I think the Chargers will win by 6.
I say that I agree with you as well. I say the Chargers, and here's why I say the Chargers this week, because now they have in-game tape on Lamar Jackson with the ones. You know, it's not like where they were approaching the game on Week 16 and they had, you know, tape on Lamar Jackson against other teams or whatever, or had Flacco still been, you know, quarterback, you know, and then they made the change. You know, you'd have to go look at Lamar Jackson and some of his tendencies during preseason footage or going back to college. And, you know, now they have that in-game experience against him. So now they can review footage from their actual game where their ones took on Lamar Jackson and said, oh, so you see right around here when he did this, look for this. I think the Chargers are going to have a better grip on what Lamar Jackson is going to do. And I think it's going to be exposed. Like you said, he's a rookie, and this is kind of a big intimidating stage. Baltimore is a very, very passionate football city. And, you know, for those of us football historians that either know or researched when the Colts were there and how passionate that fan base was about the Baltimore Colts, they're just as passionate about their Ravens, and they know their football. So it's going to be a very difficult place to play regardless, but you take the fact that he's a rookie, that, regardless of what you thought about Joe Flacco, Flacco played well enough to keep them contending and won a Super Bowl, for Christ's sakes. So you've got him on the sideline. I can imagine all the feels that Lamar Jackson's probably going to be going through. And yeah, you're right. It could be a very, very rough start for him. Alternatively, it could be a very good thing. It could be one of those guys that thrive on it and completely prove me wrong. But I don't see that happening just because Phillip Rivers is on the other side. And Phillip Rivers has been here. And he's done that. And he's played with a torn ACL that year against the Patriots in the playoffs, right? Where he could barely stand, he could barely walk, and he was still out there while LT was sitting on the sidelines. I think the experience of Phillip Rivers and the Chargers, and just quite frankly, the nucleus of the Chargers is different this year than they have been in years past. That's part of the reason why I see the Chargers going on there. And the other reason is I'm just a sucker for the old timers, man. It's Phillip. I want it to be Phillip Rivers' time. It will be a damn shame if Phillip Rivers goes his entire career and not wins a Super Bowl. As tough as he is and as hard as he's been playing the season that he's had, I don't want to see that. The Chargers have been a fun team to watch, despite the fact that their fans don't show up to StubHub Stadium to watch them play. But their loss. But I've got the Chargers on this one as well. And then finally, the evening game is number 6 Philadelphia at number 3 Chicago on NBC. Now here's a guy you're going to hear all night.
Oh, I can't wait.
But this is a different Philadelphia team.
Yeah.
This team is different when Nick Foles is under center this time around, this time of year. The Bears defense, though, is very, 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 very good. The Khalil Mack trade put them over the edge, I think, as being a really good defense. I'm not 100% confident in Mitchell Trubisky. But, I'm having a very difficult time picking this one as well. Yeah, so, Brandon, I turn to you for your insight. Big Dick Nick or Mitch, the man who loves to kiss titties? Who you got?
I'm going with the titties. I don't want to bet against the Eagles because, every time you think the Eagles are going to lose, they don't. And Nick Foles saves them again. But that streak's got to come to an end at some point. I think that the Bears are just going to get too much pressure on them. And I think that Trubisky and the offense is going to do just enough. Tariq Cohen is so dynamic on the offensive side of the ball that, he kind of makes up for what is missing in Trubisky's game. But I just don't know if the Eagles have enough defense to, really just put the clamps down on the Bears offense. And it's going to be weird because you're going to see a lot of trick plays from both teams because that's how both their coaches operate. But I think the Bears are going to win this one, especially being at home. It's going to be cold. The Soldier Field's going to be going nuts. Those pent up Bear fans, they've been waiting for this for a while. So I just can't see that defense letting them down this week. I think that the defense is going to carry them.
Very fair. You know what? I decided as you were talking, I decided to bring up my BLTD playoff bracket. I also ended up picking the Bears on this one. You and I picked the exact same teams to advance to the divisional round. So going by our theory, if we were 100% right, that would mean that the divisional rounds would consist of LA visiting Kansas City, Houston visiting New England, and then Seattle visiting New Orleans, and Chicago visiting Los Angeles for the Rams.
Yeah,
you talk about a hell of a playoff weekend. That would be.
Yeah, it's gonna
that's going to be appointment television.
This weekend is really good. I mean,
oh yeah.
You think about last year's postseason. the Bills and Jaguars. Like,
yeah,
wild card weekend was a stinker last year. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, the AFC Championship was Blake Bortles against Tom Brady. I mean,
yeah,
you're not going to get that. You're either going to get, if all goes according to the way we predicted.
Wild card was Tennessee at Kansas City, Atlanta at Los Angeles, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Carolina, New Orleans.
Yeah. No, these playoff teams are way better, way better. So it's going to be a hell of a weekend to watch football. I'm going to grab some brewskis. Hopefully I can get a good solid rest tonight, and hopefully I won't be so under the weather tomorrow. So as I can enjoy brewskis with the game instead of, pop with the game, but whatever, it'll be pop, whatever. I don't care. But yeah, soda. So, so what we'll do is we will end this podcast on that note, and we will convene next week to see if we were correct for the divisional round. We'll talk the divisional round, what it will shape up to be, and the predictions. Just for shits and giggles, Brandon, who are your Super Bowl champions? Who do you have? I'm not saying the Super Bowl matchup. I just want to see, who do you have as the Super Bowl champions?
You know what? I don't think I can predict a Super Bowl champion this year. I think that it's.
I was going to see if you pick the same one that I did, but I'll keep that one to myself.
No, I can't see a clear-cut favorite right now. There are a lot of good teams right now.
Right. You can literally see any one of these teams in the Super Bowl.
Except for Dallas.
I think.
I can't see Dallas.
Yeah, I would say Dallas, and probably Baltimore are the only two teams that I couldn't see in the Super Bowl. But everybody else, I could legitimately see LA in the Super Bowl, or LA New Orleans, or New England New Orleans. There's so many different things. I'm with you. I do have a Super Bowl winner, but I'll keep that to myself right now, because I don't want to jinx it, because, I want to sound smart. So, and I will make sure to post the bracket after the season's done, just to see if I came close. And then, Brandon, just think about it. We are one step closer to the AAF and the fleet, baby.
We are, man. Are we going to do an AAF pick'em on ESPN?
Do you think they'll do? I mean, if they got a bachelor pick'em, it'll probably be CBS. Yeah, CBS will probably have some sort of pick'em or something. I don't know. I'll look into it. If not, I'll goddamn create one on a spreadsheet. We'll have to do it. Very good. But all right, we're going to end it on that note. That is going to be it for the FTW podcast this week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting us using our sponsors, whether it's shopgear.com or whatever the hell we promote that week. I'm under the weather, and I'd like to get this produced now. So no long-winded ending from me. Brandon, good day to you, sir.
7 weeks, my man. 7 more weeks.
Say what?
7 more weeks, and I get to get rid of these invisible liners so I can talk normal again.
Oh, cool.
More lispiness and certain words.
In 7 more weeks, it'll be the off season, so we'll be back to the not just format, so to speak.
Oh, no.
I might throw that entrance in there at least once or twice, just for the hell of it. But anyways, I'm gonna sign off, because I'm knocking on wood right now. So Brandon, good day to you, sir.
Good day to you.
So long, everybody. Good night now. Feel better, JC. Thanks, Flava Flav.
Yeah, boy.
Remember to see more National Football League action next week.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.